All right, on the main pocket options dashboard, a couple things to take note here is I am working within OTC pairs, which they all are right here. You want to make note of the payout at 92%. As you scroll down here, you'll get into 73, 69, 50. Okay, so when you are trading, make sure that this payout right here says 92. Whatever pairs you are on, we want to make sure this says 92. You can trade on lower values, but that just means that your winnings are going to be at a smaller percentage. All right. And real quick, let's just look around here. This is our candles. Here's our time frame. We want to make sure that the timer is enabled. I like to use the timer here that you can see. All right. So I'm using a candles, a 1 minute or 30 second. All right. That's usually what I use. And over here, your expiry time of the trade is generally, for me, 1 or 2 minutes, sometimes 30 seconds, but usually 1 or 2 minutes is what I'm working with. All right. And then generally, I would like to use 1% of my balance, maybe 2, maybe 3, but usually around 1. When you are trading, you want to make sure that you have yourself a stop loss. 20%, 15%, 25%, whatever that is, you want to make sure that you, when you hit your stop loss, just call it quits. Come back the next day. There's lots of trading days in a month, in a year. Okay, we don't have to fit it all into one day. If you're not feeling well, move on. All right, so let's jump in here and let's first set up our interface here. So what I like to first do is I like to come in here and I will choose OTC 92s, as many as I can get up there, all of them, whichever ones are available here to choose. Because what I like to do is I like to scroll through and I want to give myself as many options as possible to be able to find the right chart that I'm going to trade on. So let's start with this one here. Let's just take a peek. Okay, so what I was talking about earlier was price action and trend lines. All right, so on the 1 minute time frame, you can see here that we are on a downward trend, right? Downward trend. And how I like to set up my, this is a very good tip right here. What you want to do is you want to go to the 1 hour chart. Okay, we're going to go to the 1 hour chart and we're going to get an idea of what our Bollinger, stochastic, and RSI are telling us on the 1 hour. All right, so if you look at this one right here, we have 3 deep wicks dropping down here, all flat, which from my history is that this is going to be moving upwards. This will turn around and head on the upwards. It has been trying to pull, but the buyers have been stopping the sellers from dragging this down. And if you throw a trend line right here, so let's go ahead and do that. We're going to grab our tool right here. We're going to grab a trend line and we are going to set this up essentially right on this resistance line. So you can see here that this has been a line of resistance at this mark. So this would be what the price has been bouncing off of and then going back up. Okay, so you can see that this price is bounced off here. So now that we have this trend line, we're going to draw another one because we want the top as well. So what we're going to do is we want to find the top and the bottom. So let's run this trend line right along the top here of these solid. Don't grab the wicks, okay? We want to make sure this is nice and straight, but we don't want to grab the wicks. We want to put this right on top of these solid candles so that we can have a better idea of what this looks like. Okay, we are set up. There we go. All right, so now what we're going to do is I like to now check in on the 15-minute time frame so I can get an idea of where this is trending. So we used the 1 hour first, then we're going to jump into the 15. So you can see here that the 15-minute shows that these wicks actually came down a little bit further than the 1 hour. So if you want to, just go ahead and grab that and bring it down just a little bit. The idea here is we want to make sure that we get as close as possible to finding our support. So we have all of this right here is chopping around. So this is consolidating. And then we had a bullish trend, and then we trended down through our consolidation, but we consolidated here again. We went down just a little bit through here. We touched it here, and here we are touching it again. Here is our upper where we touched it here, 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 here. All of these three or more touches is a really good indication of structure. So what we're looking at here is we can see that it has bounced off of this line, this resistance, to go through a number of times. Yes, it bounced through once. Yeah, I see that. But for the most part, this is our trend line. And then what we're going to do is we're going to come down to the 1 minute time frame. And then so you can really see, so the 1 minute timeline has this, here's the upper trend that we had earlier. And now that we've had this huge drop, we are clearly on a downward momentum. And I'm going to give the parallel channel a show here so you guys can see this parallel channel here. So this is the parallel channel that we're going to put in. Okay. And let's just make sure that we get the bodies here. Perfect. All right. And then what do we have for the low? So the low is going to be right in here. We have 1, 2, this one almost touched. We have 1 broke through, 2, 3, and here is our zone. This is where we are going to hang out and trade this one. So what are we looking for now? So when you look at the Bollinger Bands, let's show you what the Bollinger Bands I have set at. So the period is 20, deviation is 2 styles. I have the top and the bottom set at 2 pixels, just so that they're a little bit more prominent. And the background is white so that I can kind of see through there, so you can save that. And the stochastic, in order to get our stochastic set up properly, I got the 1433, the SMA. Here's where I make a little bit of changes here. So I've made this an 80-10, and what I'm doing is I'm stretching the stochastics because I really want to get an oversold and an undersold. Okay, so I really want to get an oversold and an undervalue here. So when we're low, odds are we're moving up. When we're high, odds are moving down. The further over the 20% or under the 10% you are, the better off you are to have an idea that you are going to start changing direction. Not always. That's why we want to look at trends and price actions. So we're going to use the stochastics, and we're going to use the Bollinger Bands, and we're going to use the RSI to give us indications and confirmations that we are within our bands, within our zones, and that so we have an idea of where this is trending. All right. So let me show you what the RSI is at. Period is 14, styles 70, 50, 20. So on the 70 and the 20, I've made those a little bit bigger so that, again, the range is higher. I want to really see it dip, and I want to really see it rise outside of the 70% and the 20%. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and see where we're at. So here you can see that we have the stochastics has crossed over the red with a really strong upward movement. All right. We have touched the top of our trend line, a parallel trend line. Okay. What we are looking for is this downward trend, and we are looking for this bearish candle right here to start dropping. Once we see this bearish candle make a flip, this is going to turn around. If we can get this to turn around and head down, then we are going to jump in for a 2-minute buy. All right. And I'm going to change this to 0.5%. Look at, we got this turnaround. We are going to sell. We're going to wait for this to pop up a little bit. We're going to sell this one down. We're going to see this one. This will be our first trade, live trade. And let's see if everything that we looked at, everything that we talked about makes sense. Not always, but generally, and if I can show you my trade history right here real quick. So this is what I've been trading today. So pretty good trading day thus far. And so we're just gonna let this go through. So we're a minute and a half on this on this first trade, and it looks like we are looking good. But again, this can turn right around. All right. So we're gonna let that one go through. So it's looking good. We're pushing down. We're pushing down. Okay, if we look down here, our RSI is pointing downwards, which is good. Our blue line, which shows we're about to cross over the red. Once this crossovers the red, this is a really good indicator that we are moving down. And sometimes you can jump in this a little bit too soon. So if this is going to fluctuate up and down, you really want to make sure that your indicators that are start to show which way it's going. The idea is to make sure that you can use your indicators to give you an idea that the trend is moving in that direction. All right, we are 33 seconds out on this one, and it looks like we have made a good decision. So what have we learned so far on this one? What we have found out is we have our top, the top of our resistance here. So again, 1, 2, 3, and then a bunch of consolidation here. All right. And then this is our low trend line, but it looks like we are going to be trending on the downward, which means that we are probably going to break through this low trend line. 2, 1, and that's the win. And of course, as you saw from my trading history, you know, you're not going to win every single one with all of this information. All right. But you can see by today, just today alone, I was messing around yesterday with some different strategies, but today I've really been working on this strategy before I wanted to make this video for y'all to show you that that the strategy is working, and it is working very well. So that worked out in our favor. So we did very well with that trade. And you know what? If I was paying attention to this, I may have been able to catch this bouncing off of this line. Now, we might be able to ride this one back up, but by the current trend that we're doing, I feel like our lower trend line here from the 1 hour, I don't think that's going to be holding true anymore. I think that this is going to break through, and we're going to have a new downward structure, and we're going to continue with this downward structure, but maybe a little bit more aggressively. So, all right. So let's move on to another chart, just so we can see what else we can. Another chart I can show you so that we can get into another live trade here. So let's just go through here. And what do we got here? We got some downward movement here. Looks like we got some touches. If we drew our trend line, we could probably see that happening there. But let's see what else we got here. Now this works in the opposite direction too. So if it bounces off the bottom and is bullish, then you want to buy. If it's already bullish at the top, hitting resistance, and then it's going to be bearish, and then you want to ride that on the way down. So let's go ahead and see if we can find another candle here. So ultimately, you want to use these 3 indicators along with your price action. So you want to be able to understand what candles are and what all these little candles mean. This is a Mariposa candle, which is a full solid rectangle. Here we have a couple dojis. This is the long-legged doji, where it's a little bit longer than a standard doji. This is something you call like a hammer, or potentially this might be a shooting star here because it's flat on top with a long wick on the bottom, and then vice versa. Here you have a gravestone where it's coming down. All right, let's have a look at this one here. So we are on the 1 minute time, still on the OTC pair, the AUD NZD. And let's go ahead and let's start a trend line here so we can see what we're working with. So let's push this up here, and let's push this down here, right through that one. Then we're going to punch that one right through. The reason why I'm not putting it on this one, because this is our current candle, but this is where we touched. We almost touched. Okay. So what we're going to do is we are now going to go to the 15-minute time frame, and we can see where our trend line has pushed through here. And we're just going to tighten this up a little bit here and here to kind of give an idea. So what we can see is we are oversold. We are over the 80. Our RSI is just touching the 70, 69, 70. We are way outside the zone here. So this is on a very big upward trend. And this could very well be bullish, which we have lots of green candles. It is very bullish. Let's go to the 1 minute time frame, and you can see that we are way outside of our zone here, and we've already crossed over, and it started to come back down. But being this very bullish, we want to be careful that this doesn't stay bullish and go on a bullish run, and because clearly it has broken through this this upward trend. And something like this, you want to be careful of. This may not come back down. This may stay up, and it may continue to ride up. But what we're going to do is we are going to, if we're looking at here, we have a big red candle with a small wick. We got a Mariposa, which is a full candle with no wicks. And then it looks like we got some bearish movement here on the way down. Our blue line has crossed the red earlier. Our RSI is on the way down. We are going to put this on a 1 minute and give it a sell. We may be a little bit late to this game, but what I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to show how using indicators. Don't just use indicators as your confirmations. You want to be able to look at the larger charts, the smaller charts, and get an idea of price action. What is it doing? What are we going to do in the future? And is this going to continue to ride down, or is this going to turn back around and go back up? Now, it could very well turn back around and go back up, which is highly likely. But what we're going to do is we're just going to hang out here. We got another 20 seconds, and we're going to see what happens here. And something like this, again, maybe a 2 minute time frame, 1 minute time frame. You just want to make sure that you are going to play with those time frames to get an idea. And as you can see, this one did reverse, but that's fine, because I want to show you what happens when you have a losing trade. What are we going to do when we have a losing trade? So we are going to change this from 0.5%. The very first one, I usually like to just double it. And then when I double it, it gives me an idea. I can try and regroup. And what I'm looking at right here is I'm looking at this blue trend line, this blue stochastics that came down, and the RSI is holding as well. So let's see what the 15-second looks like. So we are right in the heart of it, and we are on a downward trend, which you can see here. And so it has hit the middle line here. So I feel that this is going to start heading downward in the downward direction. And so I'm going to go ahead and give this another 1 minute sell. So we can follow along here. Let's zoom in nice and big here. And let's see if this, so why am I choosing to sell here? Well, with the blue line crossed the orange, the RSI is pointing down. We are on a downward trend. If I can get my trend line here, and we are on a downward trend. But again, let's see right here. We're gonna put this on here. There we go. And so this shows that we are on a downward trend, but we are flirting around our line here. We do have a doji candle. We have a gravestone, and for all intents and purposes, this should push down. And there we go. So I'm glad that this actually played out this way, so that you can see that you're right. Even though everything looks good, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be a winning trade. But what are you going to do should you have a losing trade? And this is what we did. Let's go back to here and look at the closed trades. I don't like it when it does that. But anyways, so like I said, here's my closed trades for the day. So that is a, hopefully you have taken some of those tips on looking at price action, creating some trend lines, using the parallel trend lines to help find your resistance. Hopefully this tip works for you. And like I said, if you want to come over to the Telegram group, please do come hang out with us. You can share some of your screenshots and some of your trades, and we can talk more about seeing how we can all work together. All right. Well, I appreciate you hanging out with me today and checking out this video. Hopefully you've learned some tips and tricks, and hopefully you become a more profitable trader with a higher win rate. Those who have around the 50% win rate is generally profitable in pocket options. If you're 55 or 60, you are honestly ahead of the curve. So you don't have to be 90, 80, 70. I know there's YouTubers that show and other people show all this stuff. It is and can be very stressful to try and hit those targets on a regular basis. Use the tools, use the indicators, use the price structures, market analysis, all that good stuff to hopefully increase your win rate so that you have more positive days than negative days. All right. Well, I appreciate you stopping by, hanging out here with me today, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks. Bye.